Hello there. Today, you join me in my absolutely terrifying basement shower. That was actually the first time I'd ever stood in there, and I've lived in this house for several months. I don't know why. I don't have a bathroom in my basement, but I have a standalone shower in my laundry room. No idea why. I don't think I'll ever use it. But, it's here. There's some weird things about this house. It was built in the 40s, so what can you do? Today's topic is danger. Now, I'm not saying that reviewing cars or being a YouTuber is a dangerous job. There are people that work on assembly lines with big machinery. There's people that climb telephone poles and cell towers. There's people that work in cobalt mines. I'm not trying to say that I have it worse than any of those people, by far. But you guys really liked this sort of storytelling series, so I'm here to deliver just a little bit more. I actually have two stories here for you today, two times where things have gotten dicey. One was worse than the other, but for sure both weren't great. So the first story, I was actually driving my dream car, one of my favorite reviews I've ever done, which was a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. You guys might have seen it on the channel. It's an absolutely glorious automobile. And I drove that car in Chicago, and I started filming the exterior shots at a park. As I do with most videos, I try to find like wide open space. And of course, in Chicago, it's kind of hard to do that. So I was able to actually find a forest preserve, which was good enough for the video. And as you'll see in the video, I have the GT3 RS parked horizontally across several parking spots. Now, this car was over $250,000. It was amazing, and it's bright green, so it attracted a lot of attention. As I was filming, people would pass by, say, oh, nice car, this, that, and the other, which happens a lot. When I drove the Cybertruck, I was so thankful I actually had someone with me on a very rare occasion, so they were able to sort of run interference because so many people were coming up and just asking what it was and trying to talk to me, which is fine. I totally get it. It's a cool, unique car. But I'm also on a time crunch and I need to get stuff done. So people come up all the time. People came up to the GT3 RS. No big deal. A couple people took pictures of it. I get it. That's fine. But then this guy came driving through the forest preserve and parked right in front of the Porsche. I mean, right in front of it, like one parking spot away. And he gets out and he spoke pretty broken English. I think it was Polish, maybe. There's a really big Polish population here in Chicago, so I think it was some dialect of that or similar. I don't know. But he gets out and he goes, oh my gosh, this car is so cool. And I was like, oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. It's pretty cool. And he goes, how much? How much? And I was like, oh, 283,000 or whatever that was. And he goes, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's the best car ever made. And I was like, yeah, I agree. So he gets out and he starts taking pictures. It was fine. It's whatever. He parked a little close to it, which made me uncomfortable, but he didn't hit it and there was room for me to, get out. So it was fine. So he's sitting there taking pictures and we're just like chatting. And I was like, oh yeah, expensive car, all this stuff. And then another car pulls in behind the GT3 RS. And again, they gave it some buffer of like a parking spot length or width, I guess. But then that guy gets out and he does the same thing. Oh my gosh, this car, it's beautiful. How much is it? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, it's, $283,000, a GT3 RS. It's the YSOC package, all this stuff. And then the two guys start talking to each other in a language that I'm not familiar with. I had no idea what they were saying, but they very clearly knew each other in separate cars pulling up at different times. That drew a red flag for me. And then I looked and I realized that the GT3 RS was boxed in. Almost boxed in. So immediately, I'm even shocked at my own speed. I said, nice to meet you guys, jumped in the GT3 RS, fired it up, and cooked out of that parking lot. I mean, I almost spun tire, and I enjoyed that flat six quite a bit, but I got out of there. Now, of course, there could be an argument that maybe they were just big fans of the car, they hadn't seen each other in a long time, what have you. But neither of them tried to stop me or go, oh, hey, like, where you go? None of that. As soon as they saw me get in, they went back to their own cars. That eked me out, and I was a little worried about that. But I got away. I gave the car back. There was absolutely no issues with the car at all. But that was a very sticky situation that could have gone south. The second one actually happened before this one. This was the worst one. So I was filming an Oldsmobile Silhouette from a very good friend of mine. Love my friend. But I was filming it in, at the time, not a great neighborhood. And so I get all my shots. I do the backseat review, trunk review, 360 walk around, interior shots, and I just have a couple more shots to get of the exterior, and then I call it a day. And so I'm standing there. I'm in a parking lot. Like I said, not a good neighborhood, but I was kind of oblivious to this, or just kind of not really paying attention. I get it. It just wasn't a good neighborhood. It was fine. I was going to be in and out in a little bit. And I see this larger gentleman from about 100 yards away start looking at me. And he's looking at me. I mean, it's not like, oh, what is it? He's like, boom, like right down the barrel staring at me. And I'm like, holding my camera, and I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, this dude's kind of looking at me. Don't really like that. And then he starts walking towards me. And I go, oh no, here we go. And all he said to me, and this is exactly what he said verbatim. He goes, "You don't belong here, white boy." And I just slowly turned, and I see this gentleman standing not very far from me. And he goes, "I suggest you get out of here." Now, obviously, for the video's sake, he had a gun in his waistband. Or at least the handle of a gun. To be fair, didn't see the rest of it. But he shows me the handle, and he goes, "You don't belong here. I suggest you leave." And I said,
"Sir, yes, sir. Sorry for the inconvenience."
That was a good noise, but that was good sound effect. I was out of there. I mean, it was like a cartoon, like the papers shaking down to the floor. I beelined it out of there. Now, that was terrifying to me, but in hindsight, that guy was probably doing me a favor, because he probably saw that I was a dumb, oblivious kid with a camera out in not a great spot. Maybe it wasn't my spot to be in. Maybe it was a territorial thing. I don't know. But he sat there and watched me. He could have easily been like, give me the camera, give me the keys, whatever. I think he was actually doing me a really big favor of like, this kid sticks out with a sore thumb, and if he's here for much longer, he's not going to be here for much longer, if that makes sense. So after I told the story to some friends, they were like, oh, he probably was doing you a solid of like, get out of here, and doing it in the most stern way to where I would get out of here, not just be like, oh, haha, like, he scared me. And so I got out of there. So those were the two stories that I always tell people of like the most in danger I have felt while on this job, because I am out and filming all the time. And stuff comes up with that. I have a remedy for that now. I have methods and tools and a better wit about me moving forward. I've definitely learned from those experiences, and I don't think those experiences will happen again. But yeah, when coming up in YouTube, you think everything is rose petals and sugar, and sometimes it's not. So sometimes situations get real quick. So there it is. You guys have been enjoying these stories, and I really, really appreciate it. It's fun to tell these stories. It's unfortunate. I do have a handful of stories, but they involve the owners, and I don't want to be mean or rude to anyone. I don't want to put anyone on blast because maybe they're having a bad day, maybe they're having a bad week, and things like that. But maybe one day I'll write a tell-all coffee table book or something like that when I'm old and retired. But yeah, if you guys have any questions for Ask Zach, please leave it in the comment section down below. If you have any reason why I would have a standalone shower in my laundry room, definitely let me know, because that's weird. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video, and I will be back next week at 6 p.m. Central for more Ask Zach. But for now, good night, everyone.